On a hilltop overlooking the eternal city of Jerusalem stands a magnificent forest. In this peaceful place, Israeli children play, safe in the shade of 10,000 living, growing trees of life. This forest, planted in 1974 by the Jewish National Fund, gives honor to a very special couple. A couple who gave tirelessly of their time, their energy, their knowledge, and their love. Welcome to the Max and Zelda Frankel Forest. Colorado Springs, at the turn of the century.
People came with a sense of religious freedom, which wasn't unique to people coming to this country. And there was an active, maybe not in our sense of active today, but people were cohesive. There was a close Jewish community of which Max Frankel was part.
On September 5th, 1914, Max Frankel was born in Falkirk, Scotland. His father, Zelig, mother Cyril, and brother Phil were on their way to the United States from Poland when World War I broke out. After 2 years as British subjects, the family moved to Colorado Springs, where Zelig became the community's rabbi. When Dad was 13, his father passed away from tuberculosis. Despite the Great Depression, his mother worked to give both sons a university education. After Dad attended the Hebrew Union College for a year, he graduated from Colorado College in 1935. He received his law degree from the University of Denver in 1938. Max Frankel met Zelda Miller while attending Denver University. He won her heart, set up his law practice, and on August 18, 1940, they were married.
As a member of the 95th Infantry Division, Max saw action across Europe. His job, to deliver messages between companies. The missions were perilous. Max often sat on top of tanks, guiding the way. Max was an easy target for German snipers, but God had greater missions for our Uncle Max. He survived the war intact. Max Frankel was with the troops that liberated Buchenwald in 1945. What he saw, what he heard, the horror of it all, is one story that Max does not share.
I was teaching a class right after I came back, 46 or 46. And I was trying to show the class that we have made progress learning how to live with one another. So I drew a line on the board, and the arm doesn't work, all the way up to the top of the board. And I drew a line that went like this and this up to the top of the board. I said our progress hasn't been, we've made progress, then we dropped back. Wars, we made progress, we dropped back. But every low point was higher than the last low point. Every high point was higher than the last. And slowly but surely, we're making progress, learning how to live with one another. A girl in the class said to me, and I don't remember her name, 50-some years ago, said, "Mr. Frankel, do you mind if I come to the board?" And I said, "No." She came to the board and she drew a line from the top of the board all the way down to the bottom of the board. And I said, "Why did you do that?" She said, "Because I think what happened in Hitler's Germany is worse than anything that ever happened in the world." She was the only survivor of her immediate family, parents, siblings, and I'll never forget that girl, even though I don't remember her name.
For many months, Zelda, his wife, did not hear from him, and no letters, no communication, not hearing. though Max himself had written, which was later revealed. But one morning in the Rocky Mountain News, there's a photo on page 1 of two soldiers, according to the cut line, an unnamed soldier. Well, this unknown soldier, to the photographer, to whomever took the picture, was Max Frankel. Well, you can imagine the thrill that went through not only Zelda, his wife, her parents with whom she was living, but friends. We were all so thrilled.
After returning from Europe, Max and Zelda did their part to create the baby boom generation. I was born in October of 1947. My sisters Susie and Nancy soon completed the family.
It was then that Max decided to dedicate his life to teaching people how to live with one another. In 1956, Rabbi Earl Stone asked Max to become the educational director at Temple Emmanuel. Max traded his lawyer's salary for, as he calls it, a greater income, a psyche income.
Max hired me when I was a very young person, a very young mother, and I taught religious school for him for 28 years. And he is so knowledgeable that the kids would ask him questions and the teachers would ask him questions. There wasn't a question that he couldn't answer. He always was right there, willing to do whatever he could for everyone. And then, of course, we always had a snack program, which was important for all the teachers to sign up and bring snacks. That was always good, because Max is a real nosher. He loves sweets.
Max transformed his avocation to his vocation.
Said it, I'm not going to compete with him on. He said, that which is hateful to you, do not unto others. The rest is commentary. And then he said, go and study. And that's why Judaism has always been interested in study, education.
You've helped to enrich my own rabbinate. You have a very special way about you. You are the one person that has been a constant for me in my life, in my professional life, and I'm grateful to you for that. I could always come to you, and I still can, and I do from time to time, to talk and to get advice and to hear what you have to say, and I'm appreciative of that.
Max inspires so many others day after day, year after year, generation after generation. In 1949, Ruth Schwader, the widow of Maurice B. Schwader, asked Max Frankel to accept the family's summer cabin and 240 acres of pristine mountain property on behalf of Congregation Emmanuel.
Because... Why are you looking at me?
Give me the answer. Why do you call him Uncle Max?
Because everybody does. Yeah, so you just follow tradition. It's his name. We're having Shabbat today, and it's beautiful.
This is the lodge, which was the Morris Schwader's summer home.
Max met the challenge with vigor and turned it into the first Reform Jewish children's camp in the nation.
Oh, how about... I taught him, and I taught his mother, but I don't think I taught his grandmother.
I don't think so.
But I taught his mother. His mother taught
My dad too, didn't you?
Your dad? His dad is the great chauffeur player.
Well, Max was a benign presence. You didn't really see him too often, but you always knew he was there. Somehow or another things seemed to run on time and things seemed to be in good spirit. But he would show up from time to time, such as in the water fights, the balloon fights, the food fights.
The terms Uncle Max and Schwader Camp were synonymous for so many years. He was the whole lifeblood. Not many people now remember how his crowning glory was his ability to play ping pong, and a very tough competitor. Nobody could beat him.
Well, I would call Max a pre-denominational Jew. There are people walking around today calling themselves post-denominational Jews. Max is pre-denominational. He starts with love and with spirit and with you know, a tremendous capacity for embracing people, and it just spreads to everybody, and that's really what's remarkable about Max, and I think that's what everybody in this room feels and knows.
Hi, Uncle Max. How blessed I have been to count myself among your students for almost 4 decades now. Our relationship started a long time ago when I was crying in kindergarten and you were wise enough to bring me sustenance, and at that time it wasn't Torah, it was milk and cookies. Actually, it was milk and graham crackers. And you always knew and always have known the right thing to say at the right time. I remember about 15 years ago I was having a real difficult problem I was trying to solve, and it's when we were sharing offices next to each other back behind the kitchen, and I went to you and said, Uncle Max, what should I do? And then finally, after the 4th or 5th time I went to see you, you said, and I must do my Uncle Max impression because it doesn't sound right coming from my mouth, you said, Bob, you do the right thing because it's the right thing. Uncle Max, you have always done the right thing because it's the right thing. Natalie and Joshua and Naomi, they join with me in counting our blessings together and how richly our lives have been blessed because of your life, and we thank you for that.
Contacted in the year 1969 by the president of Allied Jewish Federation, I believe it was Morton Miller, to establish a task force to see if we could create a central agency for Jewish education. The task force included Sarah Lee Schaefer, Joe Pelz, Philip Cohn, Max Frankel, and myself. The hue and cry then was, we're not doing enough for Jewish education in Denver.
I first met Max when I was a child. Max and my father were among a small group of educators who were responsible for forming the National Association of Temple Educators, which was the group that really professionalized Jewish education. Because of what Max and people like Max did back then, today there are professional Jewish educators whose job it is to deliver Jewish education and make life sacred through Jewish learning, which is really the mission of CAGE.
We serve educators at all levels. We serve teachers of public, private and religious schools. We serve clergy of all religions and all denominations. We serve families. We serve students. We serve the public at large. We serve professional and lay people from the various agencies.
You know, Max Frankel taught me when I first came to town 20 years ago that every learner is sacred, that we have a responsibility to make sure that we are available to teach and to love everybody who wants to learn. That's really what our division of special education does.
Jewish education is the only way that we know about being Jewish, besides our families.
A criticism of Jewish education currently is that Jewish education is a mile wide and only an inch deep. Our intent at Hebrew High is just the opposite. We offer a multitude of different tastes in terms of study and curriculum.
I don't think I would have been ready to go to Poland and see and witness this before IST, but after IST, I just think I've grown as a person and my knowledge of Judaism and Israel has grown.
Max Frankel helped to form the Colorado Agency for Jewish Education. 3 decades later, we're still doing what Max intended for this agency back then. We're still working to make Jewish life sacred through learning. Thanks, Max.
There's no way to know how many lives Max has touched, and we haven't even talked about them all. The members of Congregation Beth Evergreen, who shared a wonderful friendship with Uncle Max.
We had many leaders before Max. We had people who were Talmud experts. We had some people who were very knowledgeable in cantillation and in Torah. And then we got Max, and when we got Max, we got somebody whom everybody realized was what I think it was Gamaliel meant when he talked about a well of clear water.
Senior citizens welcoming him as their Shabbat guest. College students across Colorado who've benefited from Max's involvement in Hillel programs. The American-Israeli Friendship League. And of course, Max's friends at the Colorado State Penitentiary. Prisoners who attend Max's Passover Seder to enjoy his humor, his spirituality, and the real Mogen David wine he puts in his charosis. At 85 years old and allegedly retired, Max's schedule is busier than ever. Max's daily 15-mile bike ride keeps him young, and his family keeps him happy.
Susie, Nancy, and I, and all of your family want you to know how much we love you and how proud we are of you tonight. Even though we are probably the only group you've ever met who don't call you Uncle Max, we can do even better. We get to call you Grandpa and Dad.
One thing is for certain, each and every one knows that Max Frankel is a blessing to Denver, to the Jewish community, and a blessing in all our lives. Max Frankel is our leader of learning.
Max is my rock. He taught a class 3.5 years ago, and I was absolutely amazed by the fact that after having taught a class on the Holocaust at least 100 times, I'm sure, Max still sat there and cried among the rest of us, with the rest of us, and I just felt some connection to him, and the fact that one of my best friends in Denver is 50 years older than me, and he's truly my best friend.
He's really cool.